If you are an online coach, consultant, course seller, or you just sell information of any kind on the internet, you're going to want to watch this video because at the age of 19 years old, in less than 90 days, I scaled this trading community by over 400% by using purely organic content. No paid ads, no fancy funnels, just plain old TikToks. And in this video, I'm going to be as transparent as possible so that hopefully while I'm explaining the whole process, you can pick up some gems along the way and apply them to your own business to get similar results. So sit back, relax, I'm going to put up the whiteboard, I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. So before we get into the whole context change results, all that good stuff, I want people to just understand my core belief when it comes to social media. And that is that you don't need to be visible to everyone everywhere. You just need to be visible to the right people. And the right people in this context are your target avatar, the ideal person to buy from your business, whether that's your ideal client, your ideal customer, whatever it may be. Okay. And this is because nowadays, especially, virality is cheap. I'm sure we've all heard of that influencer who had millions and millions of followers. And then when she went to go drop her clothing brand, she only sold like 34 or something t-shirts with millions of followers. And that is the perfect case study for showcasing how virality is cheap. Okay. It is about the quality of your audience and your viewers over the quantity, because the creator economy, which essentially, for those of you who don't know, is the economy of people making an income via social media. So whether that's me and you selling products or services online for our business, or that's influencers doing stuff like brand deals, brand partnerships, stuff like that, that whole space is expected to double, 2 times in the next 2 years. Okay, so it's hundreds of billions flowing into that industry, which means obviously as the market grows, so does your competition. So the whole personal branding space, starting up your own social media, is only going to get more and more saturated and tougher to become established in. So with this in mind, what I did with my team is we built out a bespoke content team, strategy, and systems for this client, allowing them to free up time to focus on the higher leverage tasks in their coaching business, which will be sales and the actual coaching itself. So a little bit of context behind this client, first of all. SV Trades, the founder was a crypto genius. He was a crypto coach and he ran a trading community, which was SV Trades, via Discord. Okay, Discord was the platform which we were funneling all our viewers to. And when we first approached SV, they had no Instagram or YouTube presence. They had no social media strategy. And then as a result of this, they had no industry authority whatsoever because they weren't on social media. How could they be an authority if they have no social presence? And as a result of this, the founder was watching less qualified, less experienced trading coaches absolutely dominate his niche just because they had a social presence. Okay, and this brings us on to something called the visibility gap, which essentially is the phenomenon which allows the less skilled coaches in the coaching space to run laps around the elite trading coaches, even when they have less experience and less value to provide in the marketplace. This is because, let's look at Coach A over here on the left, the less skilled, less experienced coach. Because he shows his face on camera, he posts daily content, he's able to accrue, in this example, 100,000 followers. Okay, and this allows him then to become an authority online. And when you are an authority online, you're able to build trust and build visibility at scale. Okay, and because we have 100,000 people here who know, like, and trust him, he's able to have constant inbound leads. And obviously, if you have constant inbound leads and you're able to convert those, you're going to have a pretty healthy business. And then let's compare this to the elite trading coach over here, who may be 2 times, 5 times, even 10 times more experienced and have 10 times the amount of value to provide to the coaching, in this case, trading marketplace. But because he has never posted, he has 0 followers. And because he has 0 followers, he is completely unknown. And because he's completely unknown, he has absolute crickets in the DMs, no inbound leads, and therefore no clients for his coaching business. So this phenomenon here basically displays how if you are an elite coach, it is your responsibility to showcase that and to post content and to let people know about what you provide and how good you are. Because if you don't, the less skilled trader here on the left is going to do it for you and they're going to take your clients. Okay, they're going to actively take your money when they're less deserving of it because they don't have the experience, they don't have as much value to provide to the marketplace as you do. Because in all honesty, in the coaching space, value and experience doesn't necessarily equate to money. Okay, visibility and trust does. Those who are able to build visibility and trust at scale are the ones who have those massive coaching businesses. It's not necessarily the best coach on social media that wins, it's the most visible one. And so that brings me on to this point down here, that online invisibility is costing you. Okay, you can no longer afford to be a social media ghost. You have to start building that brand, to start building trust, to start building more clients. Okay, because attention is currency in the coaching space in 2025. Visibility is the currency. And if you aren't able to obtain visibility from your target avatars, someone else in your space is going to do it, and they're going to take those clients from you. So that is a little bit of context behind who SV Trades were, who this client in this case study was, and the problem that we're facing. They were seeing less qualified, less experienced coaches run laps around them purely because those coaches had an online presence and SV Trades didn't. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain the changes that I implemented in order to help them generate 10 million organic views, become an authority, and turn those views into 400% community growth. And that brings us on to what was the change that we made in order to help them gain those 10 million views, become an authority, etc. Well, I built out a content team. We'll get onto that later on. But at the beginning, I built out a content strategy and a content team, both bespoke towards their offer. And as a result, these three things here ended up leading to 10 million organic views, 400% growth, and multiple of our pages that we ran for SV grew past 20,000 followers. So what I've tried to do here is I've tried laying out the tactics and the strategies that we used in the most easy to digest format that we have. Okay, so if we start over here, step one is the first thing that we always do is we always define our target avatar, because we need to know who we're selling to in order to create content that attracts this person. So when it comes to trading and selling a trading course, we understood that we weren't actually selling a $500 ICT mentorship, for example. We're actually selling a $500 ticket to a new lifestyle. So we weren't selling candlestick patterns, we were selling freedom, fast cars, travel, purpose. And the people that we were targeting were people stuck in their 9-to-5s with no direction, because these are the people who are in enough pain currently, who are then motivated as a result to take action to change the trajectory of their life. So the first thing that we always do is we define our target avatar and who we're selling to, because we need to then create content that attracts this person. We need to speak to their pain points, stuff like that. Then step two is we then, with this whole thing in mind, we then needed to create clips. And the really interesting thing with this client was that the founder didn't want to be on camera at all, and they wanted to delegate as much of the content process to us as possible. So with this in mind, we then asked the creator to just take loads of clips of their lifestyle. You know, the flashy cars, the steaks, the high-rise penthouses, stuff like that. As you can see here, lifestyle clips, travel footage, screenshot of wins, stuff like that. And then they would then upload it into a Google Drive where the whole team can then access it later on. So then once we have the actual core content that we were working with, we then need to find a way to mold it and, I suppose, shape it into a format that, one, would perform well in terms of views and engagement, and two, also attract our ideal client and sort of speak to their pain points and provide value to that specific person. So in order to do this, in order to shape our content effectively, we do something called content research, which is over here, step 3. So with content research, the whole idea is that we don't want to just be blindly gambling which content ideas are going to do well. We want to already just look at what's already working and then just do more of that. We found top performing videos within our niche. We then reversed engineered the best ideas to understand, well, why did this do well? Was it the hook? Was it the substance of the video? Was it the CTA? Was there some special visual element? Stuff like that. And then we then recreate these videos and improve them. We never just want to do a blatant carbon copy of another piece of content. We want to take the ideas which are already doing well, put our own twist on them, make them better, and then put them out again onto social media. And there's two tools which I use to help us do this effectively. The first of which is on the bottom here. This is Notion. And I always keep a massive database of the creators within my niche with their, as you can see here, got their name, their follower account, and the IG handle. And I just keep this massive database so that whenever I want to do content research, at a glance, I can go see all the creators in my niche. I have all their links there, so I can go have a look at any which one at any given time. And then what I also use is I then pair that with this tool here called Sort Feed, which is a Chrome extension that allows you to sort people's Instagram feeds by their most viral videos. So it's so easy. In a couple of clicks, you can just find what is their best performing videos for the week, for the month, for the year, and of all time. A really, really useful tool. So once we found a way to shape these original clips into content that we knew that was going to perform well, we then put that on steroids. So this was essentially the target avatar, clip creation, and content research was essentially the base strategy. And we then put it on steroids with comment farming, which was essentially where we were to trick the algorithm with high engagement tactics. Sneaky typos to trigger replies. For example, have you ever seen a reel where in the caption or on the video there's a really obvious typo, and then you go into a comment section and you see just like hundreds of people correcting the typo thinking that they're smart, when in reality that typo is probably placed there on purpose, okay, in order to trigger replies. Okay, we also had fake arguments in the comments, so we'd have other accounts go into the comment section of our video and say something controversial or start up an argument, and this would obviously, as you can imagine, a flood of comments would then come in, you know, adding fire to the argument. And then I suppose this is the most natural one. We also had open-ended questions and call to action prompts in our videos, naturally incentivizing the viewer to comment on the post. Now, you've got to be careful with these first two up here, especially the typos, because let's say, for example, you're a copywriting coach and in your content, you go to do the sneaky typo sort of method. If you're a copywriting coach and you have a copy error in your post, are people going to look at that and feel like, I want to learn from this person? Because if your whole job is to create compelling copy and create compelling text for videos and social media, and on your own page you have typos, is that going to look good or not for your coaching business? So it's just dependent on the page context and who's actually using it. For this specific client, it works really well, but for others, it might not work as well. So just keep that in mind. And essentially what we were doing with comment farming was we understood that more comments equals more engagement. That makes the algorithm happy, and if the algorithm is happy, it pushes your video out to more people and you get more views, etc. And so once we had these 4 steps in place, and founders really happy with the levels of growth that we were seeing, so we then decided to do step 5, which was to maximize distribution. And we built out a 5-person content team. If I can bring this out here, built out a 5-person content team, and that allowed us to publish across over 7 pages. And what this did was this allowed us to adopt a high volume, high frequency content strategy, which just allowed us to force our way onto people's Reels and TikTok For You pages. Because with the algorithm on social media, if you have enough frequency and if you have enough volume of posts, it is possible to just force your way with raw power into people's pages. And it's a strategy that a lot of the most prominent influencers and personal brands are using right now through the use of clipping. And what was also really amazing about this 5-person content team is that these guys all down here were paid on a pay-per-view basis. And so they were essentially on performance-based pay. And what this allowed us to do, or allowed the founders to do, was it allowed them to generate, these 10 million odd views, which in our industry and on our platform would have cost around $50,000 if you were to do the same via ad spend. And so what we did is we generated these 10 million views, which would have cost $50,000 on average, for a fraction of that cost. I believe it was around a 10th of that cost we generated 10 million views for, just because we use organic content and a pay-per-view basis with our team. And so once we had fully leveraged our strategy using our team, we then moved on to step 6, which was essentially the step where we just funneled our viewers into the community. So step 6, make it easy. We inserted call to actions in captions, comment sections, and in bios. As we can see here, I've got an example here. This was on my page. I just had a simple call to action there and a simple link. And that was pretty much it. The whole idea was to make it as seamless as possible and to take the viewer from the reel to revenue in literally 2 to 3 clicks. And that was the whole idea behind it. So that is the framework that we essentially followed and the tactics that we used. We just found a couple winning tactics and we then exploited them to the max once we saw that they were working. And really from the founder's perspective, the biggest change that they made was mentally. In order to go from 2,000 members to over 10,000 members, the change that they made was in their mindset. Instead of looking at content as a cost or liability, they looked at content as the biggest investment of 2025. And they also decided that if they're going to do it and if they're going to commit to making content, they're going to do it the right way with the right people. And as a result, within 90 days, we got results like this. 2.1 million views, 1.6, 930, just shy of a million there. 1.1, 777,000. 100K there. They became trendsetters in the crypto niche. They had a content team of over 5 people, 400% community growth from 2,000 members to over 10,000. They built a waiting list of eager buyers, over 10 million organic views, and they became an indisputable authority in the trading space online. And it worked so well that even this page right here, which had a random emoji as a profile picture and a random letter username, it literally looks like someone had just smashed their keyboard, surpassed 20,000 followers and was responsible for bringing in over 3,000 members, which is just ridiculous. So that is how I grew SV Trades by 400% using the power of organic content. And we did it for a fraction of the cost in which it would have taken paid ads to do the same. And so if you're a coach, consultant, course seller, or just anyone who sells information, I really hope you took away some value from this video. And if you also want, you can claim a free strategy call with myself via Calendly on the first link down below, where I'll look at your business and I'll decide what is your best path forward using content and personal branding completely free of charge.